Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and distinguished speakers, in the name of Dr. Marwan Sakran, the Director of Bitlisaniyat Academy, the Vice Director Dr. Safiya Ksaf, the Dr. Abdulkader Mtwati, and the Director of Linguistics Research and Language Planning Team, and Professor Yassin Jamal Idrisi, the Executive Director of the Academy, and all members of this International House of Linguistics. I welcome you all to this international conference on artificial intelligence and scientific research, organized by the Linguistics Research and Language Planning Team. It's both an honor and a pleasure to see you, so many deducted professors and professionals gathering and following us today to explore the profound impact of artificial intelligence on our research practices and educational methodologies. As we navigate through an area defined by rapid technological advancement, artificial intelligence stands out as a transformative force across human and social sciences, culture, linguistics, research, and multiple disciplines. This conference that will enhance our understanding and inspire innovative approaches to scientific inquiry. Throughout the day or throughout these sessions, we will examine a range of critical topics. Our first panel will focus on developing good research questions in the age of artificial intelligence, addressing how these technologies can assist us in formulating insightful inquiries while also highlighting potential challenges. Dr. Bouchaib Benzehaf will lead us through this important discussion. Following this, we will delve into the ethical considerations in artificial assisted literature reviews with Prof. Ismail Dahya, emphasizing on the importance of maintaining ethical integrity as we integrate artificial intelligence powered tools into our research process. Dr. Aziz Qaisi will then guide us into exploring the thematic analysis of qualitative data, pushing the boundaries of traditional methodologies. In the second session, we will focus our focus to conducting literature reviews using artificial intelligence by Professor Elarj Reem. This session will provide insights into the practical applications of artificial intelligence in stimulating literature reviews while addressing the challenges that researchers might face. Professor Bilal Amdiaz will with a presentation on improving through artificial intelligence tools, offering us a glimpse into how these technologies can elevate our research outcomes. By the end, we will hear from Professor Mohammed Idrisi, who will discuss in embracing artificial intelligence in English language instruction. He will highlight the artificial intelligence potential to enhance teaching methodologies and learners' engagement. Throughout this session, I encourage you all to engage actively in the discussions through writing your questions and comments within the live chat. Your insights and questions are welcome. As we embrace on this intellectual journey together, let us keep in mind that our goal is not only to understand artificial intelligence and its impact on research, but also to raise questions for future research. Thank you for being with us today. I look forward to this to an enlightening and inspiring conference filled with meaningful exchange of ideas. First, let us begin our first session with Dr. Bouchaib Benzehaf, the head of Department of English Studies at the Faculty of Letters and Humanities and at Shuaib Ali University in Jeddah. He holds a doctorate in second and foreign language learning from the same institution and actively involved in research through applied in language and culture studies lab, founding member of and secretary general of the local branch of the Moroccan Association of Teachers of English, MATE. Dr. Benzehaf research focuses on language acquisition, multilingualism, and assessment with over 30 publications in national and international journals. His work has made significant contributions to the discussion of various fields. Let us join the presentation of developing good research questions in the age of artificial intelligence, opportunities and challenges by Dr. Benzehaf. Dr. Benzehaf, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes. Good. So, developing good research questions in the age of AI, opportunities and challenges is the title of my presentation. I'm pleased to be one of the panelists here with my colleagues and fellow researchers. Okay. Following are the objectives of this presentation. So we will be speaking about the role of research questions in research. We will be distinguishing researchable and non-researchable questions. We will be speaking about the role of artificial intelligence in all this, how AI can help with the research question. Then the SEWA test, the significance, and the role of AI in determining the SEWA, characteristics of good research questions, operationalizing the research questions, AI-driven approach to refining the research questions, AI and ethical considerations, ethical AI use in the research, conclusion, and references and further readings. Well, we will start with what is research. Research, or one of the most simple definitions, is that it is a form of problem solving. Engaging in research is finding answers or is finding solutions to problems. So the first step in research is to identify the problem. What problem are you investigating with your research? Research starts with a broad topic, which needs to be refined into a specific research question. So the research is finding solutions to problems. So the first thing is to identify the problem, and the second thing is to change the problem to a research question. In another way, what questions do we hope to answer with our research? This process involves identifying what interests you and what gaps exist in the current knowledge. Now we move to research questions. These are the foundations of any study. They shape the research design, methodology, and analysis. A well-crafted research question, according to White 2017, can determine the success of a project. Research questions guide the study and determine the research methodology, whether it is quantitative or qualitative, reflecting the direction and epistemological underpinnings of your research path. Of course, speaking about research methodologies, quantitative, qualitative, both methodologies have merit, but we need to decide which one suits our research problem. The wording and the structure of the quantitative and qualitative research questions differ significantly, as we will see in the process of this presentation. So by looking at our research questions, we should be able to determine whether the focus is on causal relationships, quantitative research, or exploring a phenomenon, qualitative research. The purpose of the research question is to communicate what will be studied in clear and concise and unambiguous terms. The research questions should be clearly and precisely should be clearly and precisely articulated. That is, the variables should be specified, the population should be specified, the research setting or the context under the study and the study, all these are to be clearly stated. Research questions, well, we can make a difference between quantitative research questions and qualitative research questions. So while quantitative research questions investigate causation, relationships, and correlations, qualitative research questions investigate experiences, meanings, perceptions, and or phenomena. Quantitative research questions usually start with how much, how many, because they're concerned with quantifying. They can also be started with what. For example, what is the effect of X on Y, or what is the impact of X on Y. They can also start with why because they imply they're about causation, they're about causality, or they can start with to what extent a question that quantifies data. They may be yes no questions, but in this case they should be followed up with questions of statistical significance. That is, if the answer is yes, is it statistically significant, or is the difference between two groups, for example, statistically significant? They contain an independent and a dependent variable. They look at connections, comparisons between variables. Now, two qualitative research questions, these usually start with what, how, but they can never start with why, because why implies causation, and qualitative research questions cannot investigate causality. They cannot be yes-no questions because there are degrees, so we cannot be clear, we cannot determine clearly whether the answer is yes or no. They identify the central phenomena, themes that we plan to explore, and we have to avoid using quantitative words such as influence, effect, relate. So quantitative and qualitative research questions are fundamentally different in their focus, purpose, and the types of data that they seek to collect. Following is a structured approach to developing research questions. According to Booth et al. 2022, we're advised to start with an area of interest. And I think that the reason is clear, because we can never be able to maintain a topic that we are not interested in. So we should find the topic we're interested in, then we should read existing research to identify gaps, then frame a question that is specific, significant, and answerable. Keep refining based on new insights. That is, keep refining your research question. Keep probably, between brackets, changing it, modifying it in light of insights gained from, for example, the literature review or from the methodology. I have an exercise, a short exercise here to the audience. What is the best marketing strategy for electronic equipment? Is this a researchable question? Well, this is not quite researchable because it is very broad. Marketing strategy is not specified. Electronic equipment is also not specific here. So instead of this question, we can move to something like, for example, how do email marketing and social media marketing compare in terms of customer engagement in consumer electronics industry? So what we did here is move from a question that is too broad, that lacks context, and that is difficult to measure, to a question that is clear and that is measurable. Let's look at this figure. Well, here we have a student and a professor the student says, my research question is, what's the absolute best way to teach history to ninth graders? And the professor says, sorry, Susie, but that question, as stated, isn't researchable. What we can observe here is that the question is not researchable because we cannot agree about an absolute best way to teach history. And what we can also understand from the response of the professor is that the question is not researchable in the form in which it is stated. Sorry, Susie, but that question as stated. So what we understand is that we can only recast the question differently so that it becomes researchable. So in many cases, a research question is unresearchable because of the way it is phrased or it is stated. So rewording or rephrasing the question can often make it more specific, measurable, or feasible. So an example is social media bad? This is like the question that the student here asks, is social media bad? We can change this to how does daily social media use affect university students' academic performance? So I repeat, often it's a question of rephrasing the question to make it researchable. But there are some questions that are inherently unresearchable, such as those dealing with moral judgments or purely hypothetical scenarios. Non-researchable problems, these or non-researchable topics, these are too broad or vague. They could be questions for which answers are easily obtainable. They could be explanations of how to do something. They're vague propositions and value-based concerns. So for students doing research, before getting too far along in a project, they have to make sure that their topic is researchable, because the wrong research questions lead to wasted time and effort. This should not imply that the topic is not capable of sustaining research, but as I said before, it's a matter of recasting the question so that testable hypotheses can be formulated. Non-researchable, how to move from non-researchable to researchable questions. We start with this example. Does technology improve students' writing? So how can we articulate this question in clearer and more precise terms? First, what is wrong with this question? Does technology is broad. We have to specify which technological tool. Students, the population here, students is broad also. We need to categorize which type of students, high school students or university students or primary school students. And then we move to writing. What type of writing are we speaking about? So to move to a question that is researchable. So this is what I have been speaking about. Technology, what kind of technology? Writing, which aspects of writing? Students, which level of students? So we need to move to something that is concrete. Consider the following question. How do AI-assisted writing tools influence the academic writing of university students in terms of coherence, structure, and argumentation? And this question, by the way, can be further refined. AI-assisted writing tools, we need to specify which tool. Grammarly, for example, or any other tool that we may be interested in studying. Good. Non-researchable to researchable. So should I put my youngster in preschool? We change it to, do children enrolled in preschool develop better social skills than children not enrolled? What is the best way to learn to read? We can change it to something like, at which age is it better to introduce phonics to children age 5, age 6, or age 7? And then are some people born bad? We can change it to what's that? who commits more crimes, poor people or rich people? Well, what is the role of AI in all this? AI can help refine research questions by improving clarity, specificity, feasibility, and relevance. We start with number one, enhancing clarity. AI can suggest more precise wording to avoid vague terms and ambiguity. For example, does technology improve students' writing? Refined, how does pro-writing aid influence university students? Coherence, logical flow, and argumentation in argumentative essays. So AI helps us refine this question. Number two, increasing specificity. AI can help specify key variables such as population, intervention, and outcome. So you can use AI to specify these aspects. Number three, ensuring feasibility. AI can assess whether the question is too broad or too narrow. Ways to make it researchable. Too broad, how does technology impact education? Refined, what is the effect of Grammarly, or what is the effect of pro-writing aid on high school students' grammar, structure, and argumentation in persuasive essays? AI can also help align the question with our research goals. It can tailor questions to fit a research methodology. For qualitative studies, for example, what are university students' perceptions of Grammarly in academic writing? For quantitative studies, to what extent does Grammarly improve students' grammatical accuracy in academic writing? AI can also help with generating alternative research questions. It can suggest variations based on different research angles. Comparative, how does pro-writing aid feedback compare to teacher feedback in improving university students' argumentative writing in terms of structure, argumentation, and coherence? Or longitudinal research design, what are the long-term effects of using pro-writing aid on university students' grammar, coherence, and argumentation in their academic essays over the course of one academic year? So the role of AI in all this, it can help us improve clarity and precision. And to this end, we can ask these questions. Can you make this research question clearer and more specific? How can I rephrase this question to remove ambiguity? It can help us specify the key variables. To this end, we can ask these questions. Can you refine this research question by specifying the technology, writing aspect, and student level? How can I make this question more focused on academic writing? It can also help ensure feasibility. To this end, we can ask these questions. Is this research question too broad or too narrow? Can you suggest a more researchable version of this question? AI can also help us tailor the research question to our research methodology. To this end, we can ask the following questions. How can I adjust this question for a qualitative study? What would a quantitative version of this question look like? AI can also help us generate alternative questions. To this end, we can ask the following questions. Can you suggest different angles for this research question? How can I turn this into a comparative or longitudinal study? Now we move to the SWOT test, and this is about the significance of the problem or of the research question. So if I'm studying X, and because I want to answer Y, the significance, what can it be? That is, in here, we should think in terms of implications. What is the impact of my study? What implications will it have? What recommendations can I emerge with? So I'm studying X because I want to answer Y, because I want to help solve real-world problem Z. So research, as I said in the very beginning, is finding solutions to problems. So we do research when research has an added value. Answering the so what question requires a commitment to not only showing that you have researched the material, but that you have thought about its significance as well. Now, AI can help with the so what test. It can help assess the significance. And to this end, we can ask the following questions. Does this research question address an important issue? Why should researchers or educators care about this question? AI can also help connect to real-world implications by asking these questions. What are the practical implications of answering this question? How could the findings influence education policy or technology? AI can also help identify gaps in research by helping us answer these, by helping us get answers to these questions. Does this question fill a gap in existing research? How does this question contribute to the field of writing instruction or educational technology, for example? AI can also help reframe for impact. How can I make this research question more impactful or relevant? What are some real-world applications of studying this topic? Characteristics of good research questions: finer research questions with each letter in finer having a particular meaning. So F for feasibility. Is the research question feasible? That is it affordable given the time, the money, and other resources that are available to the researcher? I, standing for interesting. Does the question intrigue investigator and community? N in finer stands for novel, novelty. Does the question confirm, refute, or extend previous findings? The E is for ethical. Here we speak about ethical issues, one of which is, for example, the protection of participants. And the R is for relevance. Is the question that I'm investigating relevant to scientific knowledge and future research? Well, next we move to operationalizing research questions, because the field we're dealing with, which is human sciences and education, usually involves abstract concepts, for example, motivation, intelligence, academic performance. So we need to move from this level of abstract, we need to move from this abstract level to a concrete level. We need, in another way, to move from conceptual definitions to definitions that are measurable. So we need to define our key concepts in clear, concrete ways, moving from conceptual definitions to definitions that can be observed and measured. Measurement needs to be determined in terms of indicators, scales, or tools that can provide data on the concept. We need to develop specific criteria, that is, how the variable will be measured or observed. Will we use surveys, interviews, focus group discussion, or what? That will guide the data collection process. We need to choose our methodology, select an appropriate research method, qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, to collect and analyze data. And we need to ensure consistency and replicability. Our definitions and measurements should be consistent throughout the study, and other researchers should know about them so that they can, that is, we should enable them to redo our study or to replicate the process. And of course, the objective from doing that is that the researchers verify the results. They make sure that they obtain the same results. Operationalizing research questions. Example: how do Moroccan EFL learners perceive the use of Moroccan Arabic in English classes? So operationalization here could involve defining perception, attitudes, beliefs, feelings, choosing data collection methods, and identifying indicators. I moved to AI-driven approach to refining research questions. So AI can help us with automated literature review and trend analysis, because AI provides us with AI-driven literature reviews. So it facilitates the process of doing a literature review, and it identifies gaps for you, it highlights gaps, and it suggests unexplored paths or areas. Smart question generation and rewriting, it helps us with either generating our research questions or refining our research questions. Feasibility and predictive analysis, whether the research questions are feasible or not. Framework-based optimization, here we go back to finer. It can help you define whether or make sure that your research question meets the finer qualities or characteristics. AI-powered peer review and feedback. It can provide you with peer review and feedback about your research question. So AI can evaluate the clarity, the specificity, and the feasibility of research questions by comparing them to existing research and suggesting refinements. Tools like Claude or ChatGPT can suggest frameworks, Pico for health research, Spice for qualitative studies, and Finer for feasibility to structure questions more effectively. AI now and ethical considerations. So the use of AI in formulating research questions is very important, but it raises ethical issues, including bias in AI-generated suggestions and over-reliance on machine-generated ideas. What's meant by bias? AI is trained in the data that is in historical data, in the data that it is available to it. And that data may favor certain perspectives, certain outcomes, or certain groups over others. So this bias can arise, and we should know how to deal with it. Researchers must critically assess AI's recommendations and ensure originality rather than merely reproducing AI-suggested topics. Last but not least, we should clearly acknowledge the use of AI in the research process. AI and ethical considerations. We should use AI as an aid and not as a substitute for critical thinking. It's ethical to use AI as a brainstorming tool to refine research questions and explore gaps in the literature, but it's not ethical to blindly accept AI-generated research questions without critical evaluation of it, without achieving originality. So the human touch is a must here. We should evaluate generated research questions in terms of clarity and specificity. So we should ask the following questions. Does the AI-generated research question clearly define the key variables? How does the wording of the AI-generated question compare to the human refined version in terms of precision and focus? Number 3, does the AI-generated question follow a recognized framework in human sciences, finer framework, or does it need human restructuring? Ethical AI use in research. AI can be a valuable tool in developing research questions and conducting literature reviews, but responsible use of AI requires critical evaluation of AI-generated content, verification of AI-suggested literature and sources, transparency in reporting AI assistance, intellectual contribution beyond AI output. Evaluating generated research questions should happen in terms of clarity and specificity, bias and ethical considerations, depth and relevance, feasibility and practicality. By evaluating these aspects, we can ensure that AI-generated research questions are robust, ethical, and suitable for meaningful academic research. In conclusion, the ability to formulate good research questions remains a cornerstone of scholarly inquiry. As AI transforms the research process, it presents both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, so it has both advantages and disadvantages, or opportunities and challenges. On one hand, AI-powered tools help us enhance efficiency by aiding in literature reviews, generating hypotheses, and refining research questions. On the other hand, there are concerns such as algorithmic biases, data reliability, and ethical considerations. These require researchers to exercise critical thinking and methodological rigor. In view of this, researchers must balance the use of AI-driven tools with human expertise. A strong research question should be clear, focused, researchable, and significant, ensuring that it drives meaningful inquiry rather than merely reinforcing AI-generated patterns. So as we continue to integrate AI into research, ethical awareness and methodological soundness will be crucial in maintaining the integrity of academic work. Ultimately, AI should be viewed as a complementary tool rather than a replacement for critical human judgment in research. With this, I bring this presentation to an end, following our references and further reading. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Benzehaf, for this insightful and rational presentation. Formulating good research questions is a pillar for our research that could generate or guide all research practices, steps, tools, and methodology. Artificial intelligence also use can be also directed by the research question. Let Dr. Benzehaf, if you are here with us. We have Mr. Ismail as well.
Yes.
Yes, we have some questions that. Yes, okay. We have some questions that some followers have.
Good.
For example, we have Mr. Mohammed Haddawi says, does artificial intelligence facilitate the task for researchers or kill creativity and higher order skills such as critical thinking?
Well, the answer is yes, it does facilitate the process of research because it can do things that humans cannot do. It can process it can process tons of information. But does it create creativity? I don't think so. We need to exercise our critical thinking. We need to exercise our creativity because as went in the process of my presentation, in the process of my colleague, Professor Dahya, we need to evaluate the information that is provided by artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can sometimes hallucinate and give you fabricated data. So you need to evaluate that information that's provided against credible sources, against trustworthy sources, and pass your judgment. Artificial intelligence also cannot be treated as a co-author, but just as a tool that helps and as a tool that sometimes fails. So it does facilitate the process of research, but we need to exercise our judgment regarding the reliability of the data by comparing the data, trustworthy sources. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Benzehaf. We have another question from Professor Rida Al-Ghandour. He says, would you elaborate more on how to choose the population of the study and the sample?
It depends on your objective, the objectives of the study. What are your objectives? Are you studying, for example, the impact of technology at university or in high school? So if your objective is to investigate, let's say, the impact of technology at university, then the population is the university students. And then you should choose your sample from that population. For quantitative research, there are rules, in fact, but let me pass this simple rule that 100 is enough. 100 participants is quite a good size number. For qualitative research, the criterion is saturation. We continue to collect data until no new themes emerge, until no new information produces itself. So we stop there. If the population is homogeneous, I think that something between 10 and 20 can be enough. If the population is heterogeneous, then I think that we can go up to 30. But the criterion is data saturation. When we continue to collect data until we stop receiving new information.
Thank you again for your insights. And we have another question from Professor Jawad Mazouzi. He says, if the researcher use the research question refined by artificial intelligence, would it be considered a form of plagiarism?
Well, I have spoken about transparency, and Professor Dahya has also spoken about transparency in disclosing the use of AI. Where there's nothing wrong with using AI, but you have to acknowledge the use of AI, and you have also to explain how you used it. Okay, so don't stop at acknowledging the use of AI, but also disclosing, and this is something that has been emphasized by Professor Dahya, disclose how you used AI in your research. So it qualifies as a kind of plagiarism. It qualifies as a kind of plagiarism if you don't acknowledge, if you're not transparent about the use of AI. And let me also add that it's hard to qualify as plagiarism because AI is not a writer, is not an author, but just as a tool, just a tool. But still, we have to acknowledge the use of this tool.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So even though actually it's not a writer, but again, plagiarism has to do with maybe saying that you have written something that is not yours. And so when you use AI, for instance, to generate, as I said, something, not to refine what you have already written yourself, to generate something, I think it counts as plagiarism. And again, you mentioned the fact that acknowledging that you used AI is not enough, which is of course very true. And you have to acknowledge the use of AI, and you have also to acknowledge the stages at which you used that AI and how you used it. So you must, for instance, there are some international academic guidelines for AI use that states that you have to, not just acknowledge, as you said, the use of AI, but again to provide the output and the input, meaning the prompts that you used to ask AI to generate certain things. Okay, so again, this differs from from different academic institutions. For instance, Elsevier says that AI should not be used at all, even for the refining, for maybe refining something that you have already written yourself. It's not allowed to use it. Okay, and there are of course other academic institutions that may allow, for example, AI tools to be cited as maybe as I would say reliable sources. So you can, for instance, cite something that AI has written for you, and in the references you include the name of the tool. So ChatGPT or Perplexity AI or whatever tool you used. You also use maybe the prompt and the year or the time when you used that specific AI.
Thank you, Professor Dahya. I can't agree more. And there are some journals now that tolerate the use of AI, that just want a disclosure of this. There are some journals that that require that you mention using AI in acknowledgement. I acknowledge using AI in this to write or to refine this section. Or to refine language. Yes.
These guidelines actually differ from journal to journal. Okay, so you might find that there are some guidelines that are inconsistent when it comes to how AI should be used in the research. Okay, so these guidelines haven't agreed on certain guidelines that are universal that every researcher must abide by, and there are again some controversies on some of these guidelines.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you again.
Well,
If you
I'm
can,
still here. Yeah, I heard the question. It's interesting. We can locate or identify the research gap from the literature review automation. But then we have to ask the question whether it's relevant and significant or not. Does it align with current trends? Does it address a real world problem? We need to evaluate this research gap against other sources. In fact, we cannot rely on what is given to us by AI because it can make errors. That's it. Thank you.
indeed, thank you, Dr. Benzehaf. Indeed, Miss Dr. Professor Reem have mentioned it earlier using linked PDFs or connected PDFs, or and also Mr. Amdiaz have mentioned using Mendeley and those platforms in which we can find articles that might facilitate our search in the literature in order to find the research gap. Yes, Mr. Amdiaz, yes. Please activate the mic. Activate the mic, please. Mr. Amdiaz.
سي حماد, I can add that finding the research gap isn't an easy task. Applying for a doctorate, depends upon writing a proposal, and the proposal, one of the elements or the important elements of the proposal for a PhD is the abstract. And in the abstract, you keep, mentioning why you are applying for this, this doctorate, and this depends upon some gaps or such gaps that you have already finding a research gap needs reading and reading and reading, and since AI, now is I can see that it is a must. We a researcher can balance between reading and searching using those artificial intelligence tools, but he or she has not to fully depend on those tools, and which means that we need some, to use those artificial intelligence tools by which we search, in a critical way, and not fully depend on them. Yes.
Thank you so much. Indeed, these artificial intelligence tools are learning from humans or are trained by humans, and some may use these artificial intelligence to train humans as well. So, any final words before we conclude this conference, Professor Benzehaf?
Thank you very much. Thank you all. I had the pleasure of giving my presentation here today with you. Artificial intelligence, as my colleagues and the fellow researchers said, it's transforming research. It's making life easier, in fact. But we need to use it cautiously. We need to exercise our critical thinking. It has pros, but it has also cons, because it sometimes makes mistakes. It fabricates, it hallucinates. So we have to be on our guard against these disadvantages, and we need to make use of it in our research to transform it and to move forward. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Idrisi.
Well, first of all, it was a great pleasure for me to be here with you again, sharing my articles findings with the audience and your distinguished speakers, by the way, including Professor Benzehaf, C. Bilal, Professor Reem, and Professor Saeed. It's so happy to be here with you, and happy Ramadan, and thank you all for being here. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Reem.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure. I was really happy to take place and participate in this academic exchange. As Professor Benzehaf has mentioned, AI is both a blessing and a curse at the same time. So it should be approached cautiously from researchers and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Reem. Mr. Amdiaz also.
Thank you so much. It is a great pleasure to have participated with you with such with such amazing colleagues and professors. It is I have just to add. Artificial intelligence must be regarded, as a facilitator, as a simplifier, but it is not it should not be regarded by researchers, as an end, as already mentioned by Professor, Mohammed Idrisi. Thank you so much, and it is a great pleasure once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As we conclude this enlightening conference, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to all speakers, Dr. Bouchaib Benzehaf, Professor Ismail Dahya, Professor Al-Arj Reem, and Professor Bilal Amdiaz, and Professor Mohammed Idrisi. Thanks to all the Academy's members and organizers who have contributed to making this event successful. Today we have explored innovative approaches to integrating technology in research, in education, and particularly we have been talking about the transformative power that artificial intelligence has. It is transforming all our practices, even so if they are in the research or in the teaching or practices. The insights shared highlighted critical, theoretical, and practical insights also. As we move forward, I hope we can continue fostering this collaboration between researchers in order to share the best practices and to support one another in navigating the dynamics of the new area of research and artificial intelligence. Thank you once again for your active participation and engagement. We look forward to interacting with you at our future scientific events, lectures, or conferences. When we can continue to exchange ideas and drive positive change in research, linguistics, culture, gender, education, and other disciplines. Thank you so much. Enjoy your meal.
Thank you very much. See you
Thank you.
all.
Sure.
Thank you.